The first time Atlas barked at my business partner, I laughed. The second time, I scolded him. The third time, I should have listened. Because 3 weeks later, I was standing outside my own building while police officers sealed the doors, and everything I had built was collapsing in front of me. It was a bright Tuesday morning. Sunlight poured across the parking lot of my small logistics company. I had just signed what I thought was the deal of a lifetime, a massive expansion contract that would triple our revenue. My partner Daniel shook my hand with a grin too wide to trust. Atlas stood beside me, stiff as stone, low growl rumbling in his chest. "Relax, boy," I whispered, patting his head. "This is our big break." Atlas didn't wag his tail. He stared at Daniel and barked. "Sharp." Repeated, urgent. Daniel laughed. "Guess he doesn't like me." "Aw, he's just protective," I said, but inside something felt off. Atlas had never reacted like that before, not to friends, not to clients, never. We signed the final papers that afternoon. I had invested everything, my savings, my house equity, even a personal loan. If this deal worked, I'd be debt-free in 2 years. If it failed, I didn't let myself think about that. That night, Atlas wouldn't sleep. He paced the hallway, stopping at my office door, scratching, whining. "What is it?" I asked, exhausted. He nudged the door open with his nose. Inside, my laptop screen glowed. An email notification blinked at the corner. It was from our insurance company. "Policy adjustment notice." I frowned. I hadn't requested any changes. I opened it. My coverage on the warehouse had been significantly reduced, effective immediately. My heart dropped. The request had been filed under my digital signature, but I never signed anything. I called Daniel, no answer. I texted him, no reply. Atlas stood pressed against my leg, staring at the screen as if he understood every word. The next morning, the unthinkable happened. A fire broke out in our secondary storage unit, not catastrophic, but enough to cause heavy inventory damage, and with the insurance reduced, the losses would land entirely on me. Standing there in the daylight smoke, watching firefighters move through the building, I felt sick. This wasn't an accident. It was too convenient, too perfectly timed. Police began asking questions. Apparently, Daniel had withdrawn a large amount of company funds 2 days earlier. Money I thought was allocated for expansion equipment. He was unreachable. His phone was disconnected. Atlas growled again when officers mentioned Daniel's name. A chill ran down my spine. "You knew, didn't you?" I whispered to him. That evening, while reviewing security footage, Atlas suddenly jumped onto the couch and pawed at the screen. He barked sharply at a paused frame. I rewound it. There it was, Daniel inside the warehouse after hours, the night before the fire. He was near the electrical panel. My breath caught. No, but here's where it gets worse. When I brought the footage to the police, they informed me Daniel had already filed a legal complaint, accusing me of financial fraud and intentional insurance manipulation. He was trying to frame me. My accounts were frozen by the bank pending investigation. Vendors demanded payment. Employees looked at me with fear in their eyes. I was hours away from losing not just my business but my reputation. That night, I sat on the kitchen floor back against the cabinet. Atlas rested his head on my knee. "I failed you," I said quietly. "I was too greedy, I didn't see it." He looked up at me, eyes steady, loyal, unshaken. The next morning, I received a call. A private security firm reviewing the building's external cameras had recovered deleted cloud backups. Daniel hadn't realized the exterior system stored footage separately. The footage showed him meeting with a competitor company's representative days before the fire. They exchanged documents and an envelope in broad daylight. Police issued a warrant. By afternoon, Daniel was in custody. He had orchestrated the fire, manipulated the insurance, siphoned funds, all to bankrupt the company and sell client contracts to the competitor. When investigators confronted him with the evidence, he confessed. His plan was simple: destroy the warehouse, blame me, collect a payout through shell accounts, and disappear. He never expected a dog to interrupt his perfect crime. Weeks later, my accounts were unfrozen, insurance reinstated, contracts restored. The business survived barely, but I had changed. I no longer chased growth blindly. I rebuilt slower, smarter. One afternoon, standing outside the repaired warehouse, I knelt beside Atlas. "You tried to tell me," I said. He wagged his tail, this time soft and proud. "I almost lost everything because I ignored instinct, loyalty, and the one soul who saw danger before I did. Sometimes the warnings don't come in words. Sometimes they come in a bark, a growl, a restless night. And if you're lucky, truly lucky, you get a second chance to listen."